Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you. It's 7:15 here in Ireland, in Dublin, and today we are making our connection with California, with our dear friend Marina Steagal. So, Marina, it's part of our branch in California, along with Daniel Assisi. As I said to everybody, we do have the Irish branch there. And we have two arms and legs there. So, Dani and Marina. So, welcome, Marina. Thank you very much.
Hello. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Yeah, thank you for having me over again. It's always a pleasure to be with friends.
Yeah. So, I would like to say thank you for everybody who's joining us from Brazil, from Ireland, from the United States, especially all the listeners from Kardec Radio. Thank you very much for your time and your audience in order to give us this opportunity to talk about the Spiritism. And today we have a very important topic in which Marina will touch base. It's the considered the lilies of the field. So it's a lot to reflect about it, a lot to think about it, and I'm pretty sure she will handle this very, very truthfully. So, Marina, in order to start, I will do initial prayer. So I'd like to invite everyone who are listening us, who are seeing us today. If you want, you can close your eyes. If you need, we ask you to open up your heart, open up your mind, and let's reach our mentors of the group, the SSI, all the mentors from Ireland who are giving us this opportunity to talk, not just to our Irish friends, but to our Irish friends around the world, Brazilian friends, American friends, Spanish friends, Italian friends, every single person who are listening us or who will listen us in the future. May these vibrations reach our speaker, Marina Steagal, today. May she has all the support in order to say and stay in tune with the mentors of our Irish group. So be it. Amen. Okay, my dear friend.
So yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Hello, everybody. I don't know who's on the other side. We're virtually connected, but it's good to be here. I just wanted to start by saying that I think who needs to listen to the most is myself, right? So this message is so deep. It is so touching. But I thought it would be a good subject because in times of pandemic, in times of, a lot of uncertainty, it's good to talk about faith and hope. So I thought I would start with that. Open dialogue, and by no means I'll be able to, elaborate on the depth of the content because it's very rich, but maybe we can talk about a few things and you can bring up some questions that we can discuss together.
Yeah. Before we start, we do have a request here, and that's important to request. Don't bring, Havana is saying, please don't bring only wonderful speakers such as Marina and Dan Assisi, but also the California sun.
Oh, yes. I'll send something over to you by email. right now. Sending.
Yeah.
Right?
Bring over.
Yeah. Yes, we'll do that. So, hello, Vanderlei. So let's start talking about the lilies. And is a short paragraph and is on the Gospel of Luke. Chapter 12 is also on the chapter and the Gospel of Matthew. And Jesus said to his disciples, "Therefore I say unto you, be not anxious for your life, what you shall eat, not for your body, what you shall put on. For the life is more than food, and the body is more than clothes. Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. Yet I say unto you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. But if God do so clothe the grass in the field, which today is and tomorrow is cast in the oven, how much more shall he clothe you, O ye of little faith?" So very deep there, but then it comes a very important message in the sentence that I think is so rich. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. I think that's like, wow, There are many things that we can get from here, but I'm still going to start with two. We live in a, cause and effect reward kind of effort reward system in our society. So we go to work and we do what we're asked, and then they pay us the agreed amount of money. We study in school, and then we get our grades, and eventually we get our diploma or certificate. The verb here is not conquer or accomplish, is seek. That's very beautiful, very powerful, because it's saying just the genuine effort, the commitment towards finding truth and that which is right, which is encompassed by the kingdom of God, is sufficient, is already something. We talked about last time, and I don't know which one of you here, last time I was invited, we discussed a little bit about, we're an imperfect planet. We're here, the purpose of our lives here is self-development. We talked about self-purification, self-knowledge, how we achieve self-development and all of those things. And here is just about that right commitment. And then it doesn't say one or two things per person, up to 5 things, depending. It says all these things shall be added onto you. I think that's a very powerful message, but also very easily misunderstood. Because on one hand is saying, don't worry. But the other side says you need to put the right effort into it. And we need to discuss a few elements of that. Is like, what is that we shouldn't worry about? What are the things that we control, and what are the things that we don't control? And I think we need to reflect a bit about that, right? So we're going to talk about 2 parts. One is, I just want to do a little recap of what we did last time, which is talking about we should do everything in our power to the things that we can control. And the second part of that, we're going to talk about faith. So Jesus said, "O ye of little faith," but he said trust and believe are a big part of that. So last time we talked about a few questions, and I trust, Evan, that everybody knows who Kardec is, but a quick recap, right? This book here is 1,019 questions that talk about everything from who is God to what's the purpose of life and what happens after we pass. Kardec was a scientist and a philosopher, and we get the best of both worlds, because as a scientist, he used logic and deduction, and he had a method. He was the first person to actually put a method into looking at the things that were, in the spirit realm. And, he cataloged messages, he compiled different, from different sources, he compared notes, and then he compiled this book. which is organized into different sections. In the beginning of the book, he explains how that happens. He was also a philosopher, so he uses a method that's very common in philosophy, which is called the dialogue and argumentation. And then he kind of walks you through his logic, and you say, okay, if we do this, then that, and if we do that, that's that. And for me, it works very well, because as a child, I was very inquisitive. I wanted to understand why. Why is this person rich and why is that person poor? Why is this child in my class has a limp and cannot walk like the other kids can? And why? And I had a lot of questions, and the way Kardec explains suits me, right? So the third part of that book, of this Spirits book, there is 4 parts of that. The third part talks about the loss, so there are 10 pieces: the law of worship, law of labor, there's law of equality, love, just love and charity. And the first question of that part is question 614. We talked about that last time as well, which is, what is the natural law? And the answer is the law of God. The only one that's necessary for human beings to be happy, and they only suffer when they deviate from it. So there are general laws in the universe. Kardec was a big proponent of studying, right? Because we are going to talk about faith and reason today. So he was always about, don't do something just because. Do something because you understand why. In our society, we have laws, right? There are certain ways that we have to pay taxes. There are certain ways that we should drive, and there's some rules that we should and should not do certain things. Even within our homes and our communities, some have rules of how you need to clean your driveway or do certain things, and some things are illegal. And if we conform to these laws, and if we understand these laws, we're going to live okay. We're going to be in peace. If not, then there are consequences. We can get fined, and we can get a ticket, or even go to jail. It's the same thing with the laws of the universe, is understanding that. So here is saying that the concept here is there are laws in the universe. And if we understand them, we don't need to be afraid. We don't need to be victimized. We don't need to see that anybody is after us. We just understand that there are laws, just like electricity has its laws. If we operate within the laws of electricity, we can have heat, we can have air conditioning. But if we deviate from those laws, we can hurt ourselves. We can even die from it, right? And that is kind of the logic that it starts. Question 621 is also really important, because it asks, where can we find this law? And the answer is, again, brilliant, is in our conscience. Everybody has access to it. Then it explains a little bit more, because it can say, wait a minute, some people have a lot more conscience than others. Everybody has a level. Then question 754 explains it a little bit more, to say all moral faculties exist in a latent state or rudimentary state. So we all have the potentialities of our souls, but it's up to us to develop those potentialities. Again, remember, seek ye first. And there are a lot of action verbs in the teachings of Jesus. It's about knock and it shall be opened unto you. Search and you shall find. Ask and you will receive. It's a lot about the initiating the effort with a genuine intent. So we all have a moral compass. How do we live according to these laws? That is the question. Now, let's get back to a little bit about the lilies, right? It's not saying sit here and do nothing and be passive, because again, it's all about action verbs. But we spend a lot of time on things that we, worried about things that we shouldn't be worried about. And it's about focus, it's about priority, and it's about trust. So let's think about that for a second. Stephen and I were just having a conversation about sometimes, and I think all of you, if you pause for a second to think, how many times has something happened in your life that you really wanted that thing, and you get disappointed, and afterwards you say, thank God that didn't happen. There's a bigger plan, right? So it's about trusting the things that we can control and making an effort on those things that we can control, and letting and trusting that the things that we can control, they happen for a reason, because there's a purpose of life. It's like if we're in school and there's, when you're in school, somebody is going to design a program for your personal development, right? So I need to learn something, you need to learn something. We all have, let's say, a program that say, these are the classes you're going to take. These are the level of difficulties of the classes that you're going to take, because this is what you need to learn to get your proper degree. And when we go to school, we don't need to worry about, is the program there? Is the teacher prepared? Did they clean the physical space in the classroom that I'm going to sit? Are the breaks provided for? Somebody's going to take care of that. Somebody's going to take care of the, the canteen has the food for the students to buy food or eat food during the breaks. Sometimes going to put a program. Somebody's going to put it online. All of those things will be taken care of. What I can control, what I can do is, how prepared did I buy my books? Do I have all the material that I need? Did I read everything up front? Am I using the right methodology to get the best learning out of that class? Am I applying myself? Do I have the discipline to study after each class? Am I making the notes and really paying attention to what I can? These are the things I can control. The problem is we mix them very easily. It's very easy that we're bothered to that student is not doing homework, that student is not studying, and that thing is not taking. And we focus very easily on other people's business, things that we can control, and it's not of our business. I was just in a meeting today at work where I have to work with two groups to cooperate on a project. And one group needs to do a part, and the other group needs to do another part so we can have the project. But all one group wanted to talk about was how the other group in the past didn't do their job and they are not going to deliver. I'm like, we're going to talk about that later. I will take care of that. Let's just see, can you do your part? Can we talk about that? So imagine how much more effective we would be if we would just focus on the things that we can control. So there's this book here, which has nothing to do with Spiritism. It's this is a business book, right? By Stephen Covey. And he says something very simple. He says, make a circle, and outside of the circle, you write down everything that you cannot control. And inside the circle, you write everything that you can control. And he said, effective people focus on the inner circle. That's the story, right? Isn't it brilliant? Now, how many of us have in the past worried about things that we have absolutely no control about? And I'm going to raise my own hand. I want to see how many people do that too, because and we see that every day. Like, how many cases of COVID? Let me look at it at the last minute. And how's the stock market doing? And we want to check the weather every 5 minutes. And these are things that we have absolutely no control. So then is again the balance is, let's focus our energy on the things that we can, but let's also trust that there's a program, there is a plan. We are not here by accident. If the circumstances that we were put in are the most optimal for our development, the challenges are good. They were created to take us out of our inertia and make us develop. See, every challenge humanity has, we develop. There are diseases, people develop medicines, they develop vaccines. We develop things to have more comfortable lives. We develop things to have, better everything, equipment that we can live in. So things is that those difficulties, those challenges, they are important. And we can spend more time embracing the challenge and directing ourselves to the lessons that we need to learn, reflecting, what is this trying to teach me, rather than fighting and resisting life. So there's a lot of wasted energy in doubting life, in the self. I wrote a few things that the false sense of control that we have, and we talked about the false sense of the arbitrary things that we think, something may just happen for no particular reason. It's not true. There's usually a cause and effect that deals with things. And we know for a fact that how we act has, we control a lot of those things, and let's focus on those. But we also know that there's a law of cause and effect. And it's pretty well explained by Kardec. And these circumstances that we're in, if we didn't cause them now, we probably did in a past life. But the good news is we can create good causes today. So our future is going to be a lot more peaceful, a lot happier. Because again, what we just studied is when we live in conformity with the laws of God, we're happy. So there's a big thing there. And there's a very fine line between acceptance and effort. And sometimes we fight the wrong thing. We fight life itself rather than fighting our own obstacles and embracing the invitation that life is giving us every day to become a better version of ourselves. So, talking back about, I wanted to get back into the faith part, right? Which is what I wanted to discuss here on the second part of it. And before that, Stephen, I don't know if you have any questions or if I should just carry on. Okay, I just take that as a no. I wanted to talk a little bit about faith. And why do we talk about Jesus so much? So in one of the questions of the Spirit book is question number 624, that Kardec asks, what is the perfect standard of living in accordance to God's law? And who is our role model? And the answer says, see, Jesus, right? So Jesus is a role model. And when we talk about the things that we know as compassion, love, mercy, forgiveness, charity, he encompasses all of that. So he was in a position in life where he was betrayed, he was abandoned, he was persecuted, he was murdered in a horrible way, and he could still have faith and to the last minute forgiveness. And that message of love is the one that we go forward, because we talked about Spiritism being the science and the philosophy, and is a religion to the extent that once we believe in it, we want to be better people. And Kardec said that we recognize a Spiritist person by his or her moral transformation. It's not even development, it's transformation. It's really what we do to ourselves at the end that's going to matter, because we can have beautiful words, we can write beautiful things, but it's that insight that needs to be transformed. So going back to this book here is the book that Kardec wrote specifically on the moral law. So remember, we talked about there are 4 parts in the Spirit's book. Each one of them became another book. So the moral part, became the gospel according to the Spiritism. And Kardec said, look, there are things about Jesus' life that are very controversial. The dogma that became the basis of the church, his life as a man and whether his mother was a virgin or not. And, and all of those things, his life as a prophet. But there's one thing that nobody argues. He was a good man, right? And when we talk about love, compassion, mercy, these things are undoubtedly good. And let's focus on those. So then we, in that book, he talks specifically about certain passages of Jesus' life and some of his teachings. And then there's a lot of explanation and dialogue on that and some messages that he included. I'm talking specifically about chapter 19. And chapter 19 talks about faith that moves mountains. And it's important to reflect, because, we talk about faith, and we need to have faith. What is faith? And faith is confidence in our own abilities. It's an innate thing. Everybody has some level of trust. And the more that we develop ourselves, the more faith we're capable of expressing as well. We also know that without any trust in anything, it's difficult to live, because if you don't believe that there's how are we going to get out of bed in the morning if there's not some level of belief of trust, right? Because we don't have control of everything. So there's got to be some of that. Then there's an explanation on the chapter, and I welcome everybody to read it. It's a very interesting chapter, bit of a flavor on that. Sincere faith is always calm. So he talks about what faith is. And he talks about faith is not, he talks about that confidence in the ability of, I will do something. Then when somebody has that assertiveness, and he talks about human faith and divine faith, in a human level, we find people that is incredible. They say that they're going to do something, and my God, they go and do it, right? Nothing can stop them. They will remove any obstacles. They have that commitment. They have that drive. But he says here, let's not confuse it with presumption, right? Presumption and faith are different. He says true faith is humble. Accept to say, I'm going to do everything I can, but hey, if I don't get the results that I wanted, I accept it because I did my part, and I'll trust that. It talks about faith having magnetic powers, right? And this is very interesting. It says the power of faith receives and directs special application in magnetic action. Through faith, humans act upon the fluid, the universal agent, modifying its qualities and giving it an impulse. It is through faith that magnetic heals and produces the remarkable phenomenon that we call miracles. So it talks about there's a strong power in faith that we can, and we see that people that they have that faith, that drive, they have charisma. You just want to listen to them. They're almost hypnotic in a way because they can move. There's a magnetism to that you want to follow them. And, they talk with such inspiration and drive that, people follow. And so he talks about that as human faith, which is the confidence in accomplishing something. It says this provides the lucidity that enables us to see through the end which is intended. And the one who possesses this proceeds with certainty. But then Kardec talks about the divine faith. So, it's already great if the person has confidence in his own abilities and in what we can do. So that's awesome. And we can do great things at work, in our lives and so forth. But divine faith then is a step further because we're limited, and human faith believes in our, within our capabilities. But divine faith is then trusting the power of God, but is unlimited. And that is way more powerful. So Kardec always talked about faith and reason, right? So one of the things he says is unshakable faith is only that can meet reason face to face in any human epoch. So he talked about evaluate, use the logic, draw your conclusion, and believe because you understand, which is the opposite of blind faith, which is don't question, accept it, and you have no reason to believe it, but you just believe it because. That could be dangerous. We have an example in the Bible that a very beautiful story. And for those who go to Catholic masses, it's always mentioned in the mass, is the story of the centurion. So the centurion was Roman authority. So let's remember 2,000 years ago, it was the Roman Empire. The Jews were under the control of the Romans. So they were occupied. And of course, they were subject to that. They could practice their religion. So, in Israel, there was, in Jerusalem, there was, the Sanhedrin, and there was all the Jews could practice their religion. They had that freedom, but they were under the control of the Roman Empire. So this man, so centurion, the cent comes from 100. He was an authority, a military authority, and he had 100. That's why the centurion comes from. He has 100 soldiers under his command. Well, Jesus was a Jew. Jesus was there. He knew Jesus was a healer, and he knows he made miracles. He could have gone and said, you go heal my servant. But he doesn't. And he comes to Jesus and he says, look, my servant is ill. He's in bed. He's paralyzed. And I would like you to heal him. To what Jesus said, yeah, sure, show me your house, and I will do that. And he said, no. This is the thing. My house doesn't deserve your presence. And see, he used logic. He used deduction. Remember, he was Roman. Romans didn't even have one God. They had like multiple gods. They didn't have, the Jews had one God, the laws of Abraham, the 10 Commandments. They studied the scriptures. They had a whole initiation in religion that this man knew nothing about. All he saw is that Jesus was a good man, and he respected him for a moral figure. And he said, look, I have authority. I am subject to authority. I tell my soldiers go, they go. One word from you, and my servant will be healed. So this is such an act of humility and faith. To what Jesus said, not even in Jerusalem have I seen this much faith. So he just said, look, I don't know what it is that you do. I don't know what this kingdom that you talk about is. I don't understand all these things, but I know that within my scope, with my military Roman scope, within my soldiers, I have command. I know there are laws that operate in a certain way. In your scope, it must be the same, and I trust it. You don't need to come to my house. First of all, I am a Gentile. My house doesn't deserve your presence, right? So he already puts himself he knows he's talking to an authority figure, even though he doesn't understand all the details. Say one word, and my servant will be healed. So this is a very, very touching story to talk about. Kai Basciuto wrote a book called Parables and Teachings of Jesus. And he has a whole chapter about the centurion, talking about the faith. It was magnified by knowledge and purified by humility, right? It's a beautiful faith. So this is what we promote, is a faith because it's based on a deep understanding, right? I trust something, even though I don't understand all the details of it. So let's talk about the lilies again, right? They toil not, neither do they spin, and yet they are taken care of. So does God take care of us? What do we think? Right? Jesus introduced a different God. He wasn't a God that's revengeful and angry and the disciplinary God. He used the term a loving father. It's a father. What does a father want more than, the happiness and joy of his children? And he also said, which of your fathers, if your son asks for bread, will give him stone? He said in Luke 11. So it's a loving father. We need to remember that. And we're here in a journey of personal development, right? Towards perfection. And we have misconceived notions, we have illusions, we have weaknesses, faults. And these are the things that really are, when we talk about the faith that moves mountains, is the mountains of our moral mountains, of the obstacles that prevent us from really having that faith, from being happy, and from having that trust. So we live in fear, we live in anxiety, is that wrong sense or false sense of self-importance. We think we're so important. And this is very, it gives us that sense of we need to control everything. It's not so. It's not the case. And thinking back about, remember that circle of the things that we can control and the things that we cannot control. There was, my father was a very wise man, but he also had a very good sense of humor. And one day we were traveling somewhere, and we were on a plane, the two of us, and I asked him, Dad, aren't you afraid that the plane might crash? And he said, no, the plane is not mine. And then But if you think about it, he made it as a joke. But if you think about it, there's a lot of wisdom into that, because if the plane was his, it would be in his circle. Then he would be responsible for the maintenance. He would be responsible for, are people trained? Do we have the proper safety protocols? Did we have all the spare parts that we needed? Did we do all the checks that we had? Or did we do a dry run to make sure that everything is? These are things that we can control. But his point was, it's not mine. So why? What good is it gonna do to worry about those things? And we need to stay in our circle. It doesn't mean that we need to be indifferent. The things that we can do to add value and to help, we should always try to. But we need to have that line of, why am I bothering with this? Am I adding any value to that? Where I'm just creating anxiety and I make everybody anxious and I create all this commotion for no particular reason, right? And we have that element as humans about over exaggerating things and dramatization of things, that maybe we don't need to do that. And it's good that every day we check ourselves, because these things are going to come up. And that's the process of life, right? Because we make mistakes every day. I do. I look into things and say, oh no, why did I do that? And it's okay, because it's part of the process. And that's how we become every day a little bit more peaceful, a little bit less resistant to life, to say things are happening to help me. And I'm just going to embrace it and not be so upset. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is pain, because it's something that oh my God, I don't want to suffer anything, but sometimes it's good. A lot of times we see like Steve Jobs saying, the best thing that happened was when I was fired, because then I went and did this. And we have that. A lot of times we resist life, but we say, oh, thank God that happened, because I took another step. I made a big change in my life to a new direction. I got to know something new that I want. So we need that challenge. We need something to take us out of our inertia and make us develop and grow and look at things differently. It's part of life. And we do that with our employees at work. We're saying, hey, I'm going to challenge you differently now so you can learn something new and all of that. We do that in sports. We do that in life. And we shouldn't be so upset about it. And remember, we talked about one question in the Spirit's book. When we deviate from the laws of God, we suffer. It's also nice to have a little bit of self-reflection to say, why is this bothering me? What am I? Maybe something, my behavior, my attitude needs a little bit of reevaluation and change. And rather than be so upset and resistant and rebellious, we can be a little bit more reflective and see. That's it. It doesn't need to be. Remember, Jesus said, my burden is light. It's about not fighting, not resisting so much, and kind of going with the flow. There's a mechanism in life. There's things that are going to kind of take us whether we want it or not. Let's go with it. My uncle, he says something very cool. He says, at least if you don't trouble life, is good enough. Don't interfere with life is already good enough, because life will take us to some places and spend less time fighting against it and more understanding it. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, right? I think I don't know how we're doing for time, but I also want to have a little bit of Q&A. I just wanted to read, if I can, a paragraph from, which is on the chapter 19 of the Gospel according to the Spiritism, which is written by Joseph, a protector spirit. And he said, have faith in all that contains beauty and goodness, in its purity and its reasoning. Do not accept faith that cannot be substantiated, the blind daughter of blindness. Love God, but know why you do. Believe in his promises, but know why you believe in them. Follow our counsels or advice, but be aware of the objective we show you and the means we provide for you to reach it. Believe in hope without losing heart. Miracles are the deeds of faith. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. Thank you so much for your time. And I'd like to hear what you have to say and see if there are any questions.
Wow. I like your uncle, by the way.
Sorry?
I like your uncle. Yeah, tell me it's happening, Don't bother life, everything's fine.
Don't get in the way of things. Yeah.
Exactly. But this talk makes me to remind, do you know the Serenity Prayer?
Stephen, you froze on my side.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Can you say that again? No, I can. Yeah.
Okay. This reminds me to the Serenity Prayer. Do you know it?
The what?
Serenity Prayer.
Serenity Prayer. No, I don't.
No. Look what the Serenity Prayer says. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change.
Oh, yeah.
Courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.
Right? If only you could know that. Yeah, I didn't know that was called the Serenity Prayer, but it's exactly that. If we could only know that, right? If we could only bother with our own things,
yeah,
and really make a difference on the things that we can. Oh, wow. How much more effective would we be?
Well, we don't need to bother the life, you know? Yeah, so we have here some compliments. Very intelligent talk, Marina. Don't complicate life.
Thank you, Carl.
Cesar Santos, very good considerations about life and wisdom. Thanks.
Thank you, Cesar.
Carlos Felipe, no questions at all. You are brilliant. Very clear and straightforward talk.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm learning together. I mean, these things make me study for myself. It's just every time I'm reading all this, I'm like, why don't I make my life easier? Why do I worry about things? And I know every time it works out, you know, but still it's a nice opportunity for myself. Like I said, the first thing I said is I'm talking to myself, you know, is things that I have to remember, and I have to every day, you know, a little bit gets into my being, that I can be a little bit more trusting, a little bit more understanding, a little bit more committed, and less resistant to life.
Yeah, and sometimes we used to blame someone for the things we push that things to happen, and sometimes because we push it too hard, things don't go as we wish to, and we say, oh, I didn't anything. It's him or her or God or whatever fault, not mine. You know, so this line is very soft between.
Very.
You don't know what to do, but at the same time you want to do something and you don't know you have to do it.
Yes. Yes, and is the daily progress, right? And I think we know that, you know, the question 630 of the Spirit's book says that, you know, good and evil, that we talked last time. So good is everything that's in accordance to the law of God, and evil is everything that deviates from it. Everything at the end happens for a reason. And all we can do is be a vehicle, right? I can only be a vehicle. So you're supposed to have blessings in your life, and you're supposed to have hardships in your life. I can choose who I want to be. Do I want to be a vehicle of good, or do I want to be a vehicle of bad things? Is my choice. But at the end, things are going to happen through me, right? And St. Francis, in his prayer, he says, God, make me an instrument of your peace. He asks to be an instrument of God. And that's why I say the false sense of self-importance, because we think we're so important. No, we're just being an instrument, because at the end, the laws of God are going to operate, and we can choose which side we want to be out of it. But we can just be a vehicle of something positive, something constructive, or something negative. And let's choose for the positive, because as we study these laws, we know that it's much more rewarding and fulfilling to do that.
Yeah, like you said, my burden is light. Jesus said, my burden is light. We complicate it. Yeah,
right.
We complicate it. But what do you say for someone who always push hard to get something? Because sometimes we think we are prepared for something and we want that thing happen at that time. And we are fully trained, fully
That is
prepared.
a very, very interesting. That is a very interesting point, a very good point that you bring up, because there's making an effort and there's pushing too hard, right? And remember, Spiritism studies the biggest obstacles of our development. It talks about selfishness, pride, right? And when we talk about the pride piece, that links to obstination. So I want something so hard that I'll keep pushing at it, and that's not healthy. That's not the way. That's pride driven. We need to be effort. Seek the kingdom of God, to say, God, my intent is to have a fulfilling life, but I also want to do what is the right thing for my life. And you know better than I do. So I am going to make this effort. And if life is showing me that this is not the right way, or that's not the good way, I will have the humility to accept the things that I cannot change, just like you read in the Serenity prayer. This is very hard because we want things our way. And you see that every day. The small thing that happens, like we pray in the morning and we say everything is going to be nice. We get out of the house. We get a little bit of traffic. Oh my God, we get so upset because it's one little thing that is against our will and we freak out. We try to put the password in the internet and it doesn't work in the first attempt. We curse at everybody. We get super upset. This is lack of faith, because look, we need to make our effort. We need to have the humility and patience to try and to understand maybe that wasn't the right way. I tried once, I tried twice. Maybe I need to think, is this the right way? Is this the appropriate way? And you had a beautiful example in your life that we're talking about, when you tried for something and you thought that was a good move. It didn't work out. You accepted it. You could have got angry. You could have got upset. You could have been, I'm the victim, poor me. Look what happens. And you say, hey, and then later on you say, wait a minute. It was actually good that it didn't happen. It was for the better. That minute you didn't know, but you trusted it. You trusted that life knew better than you did. And that's something that we need to remind ourselves, because our ego wants to know better than life, and he wants to control life. And then we say, look, life knows better.
Yeah. We have here a question from Ka Kemi. I'm actually preparing a presentation to my colleagues at work about stress. It has a lot to do with your talk. I also thought, why am I not doing all these things, like worrying less about things I cannot control? It's practice, right?
Yes, absolutely. I am also wondering why I don't do that more often. It's not only you. And we always worry about it, but it's about, I just go back into how many times in our life, we all have the experience, like think for 1 minute now, pause and think that time in your life that you say, God, that's it. There's no way out of this situation. I'm toasted. That's it. I don't see how I could solve it. And at that moment, you feel like there's no way out. And now you look back and there was a way out. You got out of it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here right now. But at that moment, you didn't see it. These are the moments that we need to remember. There's always a way, right? And we need to have, I suggest that everybody reads the chapter 19, because it talks about that faith. It's calm, it's trusting, it's strong. It doesn't, wobble around, and it's that force within. And it's a muscle that we practice. We all have faith. This is an innate thing, but we can practice it. We can say, I'm going to trust. And it's the everyday effort, because remember, Jesus wasn't talking about us conquering and achieving anything. He said, make a genuine effort. Seek the kingdom of God and his righteousness, which is all these laws, and all these things shall be added onto you. It's trust. The Psalm 23 by David, always, I had to study it when I was a little kid in school, because I went to a Protestant school, and, the Psalms were big there. And we had to memorize it. And he said, God is my pastor and I shall not want. Like, if I have God, I have everything. I thought it was so powerful, right? And those words that he uses is like, these are the things that are worth reflecting and meditating. And when we have those moments of anxiety, of stress, especially now, because everything is so uncontrollable, right? We don't know when can we travel again, when can we get out of the house, when is their vaccine. We don't know if we're going to go into lockdown again or not. So all of that instills that fear within us. Is a great opportunity to reflect, to feel, why am I worrying about this? Does it make a difference? Is there God or not? Do I believe that the universe is benign or not? And start feeling these things, because it's an opportunity for us now more than ever to practice the faith and develop that faith within us. So great question. Good luck with your seminar or workshop.
Another question here from John De Rosa. How to discover one's true humility?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we can only discover within ourselves, right? And it's about every time that we put God's will first. And I think Jesus gave us so many good examples. And I think to the last moment, when he knew he was going to die, and in a horrible way, right? Humiliated in that terrible form, he asked for that to not happen, but then he also said that may thy will come true. He asked for, not this is what I want, but I will trust better what you want and I'll accept it. That's very hard. It's really hard to have that humility. I don't think it's something that it's easy for us to find. But remember, we also learned today that all those faculties and those potentialities of the soul are within each one of us. So we have that. Jesus said, you're the salt of the earth. You're the light of the world. We have these capabilities within. And all it takes is the genuine effort. And we can pray for it. We can ask for it. The Spiritism literature talks a lot about prayer, because it's just, that is the biggest act of humility, is asking for God. Like, help me. I want to know. Show me the way. And we can strengthen our muscles, our moral muscles, by continuously asking and associating with those things. I don't know if I answer your question, but it's a good thing to reflect on.
Yeah, I would say a lot of people make mistakes between being humble and being selfless. No, egoist. I forgot how the word in English.
What is the word in Portuguese you're looking for?
Egoísta.
Selfish.
Selfish, yes. So it's a fine tune as well between being humble and people think you are being selfish. Because when you are humble, you make yourself in a lower position, and when you think you are being selfish because, he wants or she wants everything for him. No, he wants to keep for them. He's playing a game of being humble, and no, they do not play a game. So we need to see what is the intention in our hearts.
This is a very important thing, and Spiritism talks about that. The Spirit's books will say that God will look at the intent rather than the action. Because look, I can make a huge mistake with a proper intent. My intention was good, but my actions came out the wrong way. Or the other way around. It can be a beautiful action, but I have a bad intent. I want to manipulate somebody. I want to control something through that. So it's really about going inside. And I think, that there's the whole study we can do on question 919, where St. Augustine defines a good man. And he talked about every day, he wrote out everything he's done, and he questioned himself if there was anything that he wasn't right. or if he had seen that very thing on somebody else, if he would condemn that action. And I think that's, it's a hard exercise, but it's an exercise that can be very enlightening. And again, focus our efforts in ourselves, and rather than looking to what is wrong there and there and there. Because at the end, look, we're here in this planet because that's our evolutionary level. And maybe the things I'm looking in the news and I'm looking at the others and I'm condemning, I have them in myself as well. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. And I think that's the reflection that's really content rich, and the one that can be enlightening, and the one that can be liberating. Because, hey, everything that I release from myself that is not good is something that can take me to the next level and give me more faith, more hope, more joy.
Exactly. So I think you will answer John's question. Thank you for your help.
Thank you, John.
Yeah. So, my dear, it's no more questions today. But we need to remind as well that everybody who are here on Earth incarnated, even though we are incarnated, we are in different level of evolution. So sometimes what is easy for me to understand, for some people may be not easy, and the other way around. It does mean that person is better or not than me? No. Doesn't mean that. It just means that sometimes I grasp things easily, and sometimes I don't understand things easily. I need someone to draw, and this we don't have patience. We need. I think the first thing we need to have is patience, because we need to have patience first of all to explain more, patience to wait someone reach the point you want to make, and patience to reach at that level as well. So
absolutely, we struggle very much with the judgment piece, and Jesus said, "Judge not, lest you be judged." And we struggle very much because we want to control people. So if you want to be my friend, you need to think the way I think, you need to act the way I act, you need to believe in what I believe, you need to say the things I say, and that's not, God gives us free will, but we resist giving each other the right to be what we need to be. And everybody's on a different level, like you said, and different faculties, maybe in sports, or maybe in science, or maybe in spirituality, and everybody is in it, and we have to respect that, because we don't know the background of everyone. We're all souls in evolution around all different levels, and we need to have that respect and bother less with what other people are doing, and again, focus into what it is. Of course, if we have the opportunity to coach and help somebody, is our obligation to do that. If we have an opportunity and to be role models, people are always looking at us as an example, and we have to try to set the best we can, but still respecting that everybody is on their journey like God respects us, right? And we can look at the parable of the prodigal son, that it gives a very good explanation of free will. When the prodigal son took his time, he did what he wanted until he came back and his father was happy to see him. And I think that patience, that humility, that understanding is going to come as we work on our self-development.
Yeah. Okay, my dear. So our time is up. 8:15. By 9 here. 9:15, 8. I'm looking different time zones here. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. So thank you very, very much for your time. Thank you very much for your availability. I wish you send some sun from California.
On its way.
Yeah, it's on the way. Yeah, you said you're going to send by mail. Yeah, okay.
Yes, right now.
Okay, send it. Yeah, but actually we cannot complain, because we had beautiful warm days last week and this week. Yeah, just yesterday we had a storm here, Storm Ellen. cause a lot of troubles in the south of the island. Here in Dublin and where I live, it's just heavy winds. But after the storm, what we have? A sunny day. So in some points of Ireland, we had sunny today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you
Thank
for
our
having
friends from Kardec Radio. Thank you our friends from Ireland, our Irish people and friends. We love to be here. Thank you to allow us reach you wherever you are. And this is the most important thing. We are here with humble and patience, you know, to accept any comments. We try to make things better, not just for our life, for everybody who are with us. We are not the ones who knows everything, and that's not our intention here. We just try to apply what we read in Kardec's book in our life. Sometimes it's easy to apply, sometimes very difficult. But this is the life. Doesn't mean we won every time. Sometimes we need to lose to win. No?
Thank you, Stephen. You do beautiful work. Thank you for all the...
Yeah, thank you very much. And my dear friend, another request, last request. Can you do our final prayer?
Me?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes. Heavenly Father, we appreciate the opportunity for being here together. May the words that we discussed this evening touch our hearts, enlighten our lives, and bring joy to our hearts. We pray for all of those that are dear to us, but mostly for those who suffer in the hospitals or in any type of pain. We ask for your blessings, and we can transmit now to all of those around us peace, love, and joy. And may that we continue our lives every day with a little bit more faith and peace in our hearts. Amen.
Amen. Once again, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Greetings from Ireland to everyone. And I shall see you on Tuesday. Again, thank you. Have a lovely weekend. Marina, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye, guys.